The silver moon hung low over the midnight pack's territory, its light spilling across the training grounds like a ghostly witness to the crime. The night should have been quiet, yet the air was pierced by the sound of screams. Tamia ran, barefoot. Her feet tore against the sharp gravel, but she didn't stop. She could still taste blood in her mouth, blood that wasn't hers. The scent clung to her skin, staining her silver wolf aura in crimson shadows. Seize her. The alpha's roar echoed behind her, a command that sent warriors rushing forward. Her heart hammered painfully. This had to be a nightmare. Minutes ago, she had been laughing with Princess Alana, her only friend in the entire pack, the only one who saw her not as an outcast but as a sister. And now, Alana was dead. The image refused to leave Tamia's mind. The princess's golden hair had been matted with blood, her throat torn open, her eyes wide with shock. Tamia had been found kneeling beside her, her hands covered in the same red stain. She had screamed, pleaded, tried to explain, but the pack hadn't listened. They never listened. Treachery. Someone shouted. She killed the princess. Another voice spat. The accusations struck like knives. Warriors tackled her, shoving her into the dirt. Gravel scraped her skin, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the gaping wound inside her chest. No, I didn't, I would never. Tamia cried, her voice breaking as tears burned her eyes. She was my only friend. A heavy boot pressed against her back, forcing her face into the ground. The alpha loomed above her, his eyes cold with fury. Lies, he growled. You were jealous of her. You hated that she was the princess, and you were nothing but a cursed silver wolf. Silver wolf. The word was spat like poison, as if her bloodline were a disease. She had been branded cursed since birth, her shimmering silver coat seen as an omen of ruin. Only Alana had ever defended her. And now, the one voice who believed in her was silenced forever. I didn't, Tamia sobbed, but the alpha's judgment was final. The beta sneered, his lips curling cruelly. What do we do with traitors, Alpha? Make an example of them, came the ruthless reply. Chains clamped around her wrists, biting into her flesh. They dragged her through the pack grounds like a criminal. Wolves spat at her, some throwing stones, others cursing her name. Children cried at the sight of her, clinging to their mothers as though she were a monster. Monster. Murderer. Cursed. Each word carved deeper into her soul until she felt hollow, stripped of dignity, stripped of hope. She had lost the only person who made life bearable, and now, she was alone. They threw her into the dungeons. Darkness swallowed her, the stench of mold and rust filling her nose. Cold iron chains shackled her to the wall, heavy enough to sap her strength. Tamia's body trembled violently, but not from the cold. It was grief. It was terror. Moon goddess. She whispered into the silence, her voice cracked and raw. If you are listening, why take her from me? Why let them blame me? If I must suffer, then let it end. Please, just let it end. Her prayer echoed into nothingness. No one answered. No one ever did. Tamia closed her eyes, her tears falling silently. Somewhere deep inside her, a flicker of her silver wolf tried to stir, tried to fight, but she was too broken, too tired, and so, under the cold glow of the moon and the crushing weight of betrayal, Tamia surrendered to the darkness. Little did she know, fate had not abandoned her. For far beyond the dungeon walls, in the heart of the Lycan King's palace, a beast stirred restless, thirsty, waiting for the one who could save him. The dungeon door creaked open with a screech that tore through the silence. Harsh light spilled into the darkness, stabbing Tamia's swollen eyes. She flinched, but the guards showed no mercy. On your feet, murderer, one barked. Chains rattled as they yanked her up. Her knees buckled, her body too weak from hours of shackled torment, but the guards dragged her like a ragdoll. Her silver hair hung in dirty tangles across her bruised face, her once bright aura dimmed to a faint shimmer. They led her into the great hall. The pack had gathered rows of warriors, elders, and families, all staring at her with eyes full of hatred. At the center stood Alpha Garrick, tall and merciless, his beta at his side. Tamia's breath caught when she saw the days. Draped in white was Princess Alana's lifeless body, her golden hair haloed around her pale face. A sob tore from Tamia's throat. No, her voice cracked. Alana. The room erupted in growls and curses. Silence. The alpha's voice boomed, making the walls vibrate. His gaze locked onto Tamia with disgust. You dare weep for the one you slaughtered? You will answer for your crimes. I didn't. Tamia cried, stumbling forward on her knees. She was my sister, my only friend. I would never harm her. A slap cracked across her face. The beta sneered, his claws grazing her cheek, drawing blood. Liar, we all know what you are. Accursed. Wolf brings only death. You finally proved it. Tamia shook her head frantically, tears burning her eyes. Please, you have to believe me enough, Alpha Garrett growled. Bring forth the witnesses. One by one, pack members stepped forward. Wolves she had trained with, wolves she had shared meals with, wolves who had mocked her but still once breathed the same air, now each spat venom with their words. I saw her covered in blood. She was always jealous of the princess. She said once she wished Alana would disappear. She's dangerous. The goddess cursed her for a reason. Each accusation piled upon the other, crushing what little hope she clung to. Tamia's lips trembled. That's not true. Please, you're twisting everything. Quiet, Garrick roared. The beta leaned close, his whisper venomous. No one will speak for you, Silver Wolf. Not anymore. And he was right. The hall remained silent. No voice rose in her defense. Not a single soul. Tamia felt something break inside her. A hollow ache swallowed her chest, stealing her breath. The world blurred through her tears, but she saw enough: the glares, the hatred, the delight some took in her pain. Tamia of the Silver Line, the Alpha declared, his voice like stone. You are found guilty of murdering Princess Alana, the jewel of this pack. For your crime, you will be punished until death claims you. The crowd roared in approval, the sound like a pack of demons celebrating her doom. Chains dragged her back down to the dungeon where the torment began. They whipped her. They starved her. They poured wolfsbane into her wounds, laughing as she screamed. Each lash of cruelty stripped another piece of her soul until Tamia became a shell, staring blankly at the darkness. But still, through the agony, her heart whispered one truth. I didn't kill her. I didn't kill Alana. Night after night, she repeated it, as though clinging to those words was the only thing keeping her alive. And far away, beyond the pack's borders, the Lycan King stirred again, his bloodlust clawing at his control. His soul, restless. A whisper in the wind carried her name, though he did not yet know it. Fate was moving. The dungeon became her coffin. Every breath she took tasted of rust and rot. Chains bound her wrists and ankles so tightly that her skin split, the iron drinking her blood. The cold stones beneath her had molded to her body, each jagged edge leaving its mark on her fragile flesh. Day and night blurred into one endless nightmare. She no longer knew when the sun rose or when the moon watched her suffering, only that pain came in waves, delivered by hands that should have been her kin. Sometimes it was the whip, its cruel leather slicing her back until she drowned in her own cries. Sometimes they poured wolfsbane into her wounds, and she writhed helplessly as the poison spread, searing her veins like fire. Other times, they starved her, watching with amusement as her silver glow dimmed with each passing hour. Through it all, she held onto one thought. I didn't kill Alana. But no one cared for truth. The guards called her murderer with sneers that cut deeper than the lash. Children spat at her through the bars, whispering "cursed wolf" as if the words were spells to damn her further. On the fifth night, when her body had grown too weak to move, Beta Rise came. His boots clicked against the floor as he entered, the sound heavy and cruel. He crouched before her, tilting her chin up with fingers that dug into her bruised jaw. Look at you, he mocked, his voice a serpent's hiss. The proud silver wolf, reduced to nothing more than a beaten cur. Tamia's cracked lips parted, but no words came. Her throat was raw, her voice lost. You should be grateful, Rise whispered, his smile sharp as glass. The Alpha spares your life. Death would have been too merciful. This way, we can savor your suffering. Every scream, every tear, it proves you are exactly what we've always said. Cursed, unworthy, poison to everyone you touch. He shoved her back against the wall. Her head struck stone, and the world tilted. She didn't even cry out. She couldn't. She just closed her eyes, a single tear slipping down her cheek. When he left, the silence returned, heavier than the chains. Tamia curled into herself, her ribs aching with each shallow breath. Her wolf, once proud, silver bright, now hid in the farthest corner of her mind, whimpering, too weak to fight. Maybe this is it, she thought. Maybe this is how I end. Forgotten, hated, alone. But then something stirred. It was faint, like a heartbeat echoing through the earth, pulsing against her own. Her wolf's ears pricked up, though it was barely strong enough to lift its head. Tamia blinked through the haze, her heart stumbling in confusion. Warmth. For just a moment, warmth washed over her. She didn't understand it, but her soul reached for it desperately. Far away, in the Lycan King's palace, Killian sat in darkness. His claws dug into his throne as waves of bloodlust raged through him. His chest heaved, his fangs ached, and his vision blurred crimson. Every day, it grew harder to restrain the beast within, but tonight, something different burned in his veins. A thread, a pull, a whisper in his blood. His wolf stirred for the first time in years, growling a single truth: she's here. Killian's eyes snapped open, glowing like fire. Somewhere, beyond his reach, his salvation was alive. Broken, but alive. And deep in the dungeon, Tamia's lips trembled as a whisper escaped her cracked throat. I'm not alone. Tamia's world narrowed to shadows. Every breath she took felt like a battle her body no longer wished to fight. Her lips were cracked and bloodless, her skin pale beneath the grime. The chains that bound her seemed heavier than ever, as though they were dragging her deeper into the abyss. Her wolf, once a shimmering guardian of silver light, was now no more than a faint flicker in the back of her mind. Weak, silent, dying. Sometimes, Tamia tried to summon it, to cling to its strength the way she had as a child when the pack's taunts had cut her. But when she reached for it now, all she found was silence, a void where her soul's other half had once thrived. And yet, she still clung to one fragile thought. I didn't kill her. I didn't kill Alana. The truth had become her shield, even if no one believed it. Even if it changed nothing. The guards stopped taunting her. Even the beta hadn't come in days. She was no longer a prisoner to humiliate. She was something less. Something forgotten, left to rot in the dark until death claimed her. Her eyes fluttered shut. Perhaps this was mercy at last. But then it came again, that pulse. That strange warmth that wasn't hers. At first, she thought it was fever, a trick of her dying mind. But no fever carried strength. No fever stirred her wolf, coaxing the faintest flicker of silver into her veins. Tamia's eyes opened slowly, the dungeon still a haze of shadows. What? She rasped. Her voice was barely a whisper. Her wolf stirred weakly. He's close. She didn't understand. Who? Why now? But across the lands, the Lycan King roared into the night. Killian's claws tore deep grooves into the marble of his throne room as the curse of bloodlust clawed at him with savage hunger. His guards kept their distance, for when the curse rose, even the bravest feared his wrath. But tonight, amidst the burning thirst, something else coursed through his veins. A tether, a pull. His wolf surged against him, more alive than it had been in centuries. Mate, Killian staggered, his chest heaving as his bloodlust collided with the sudden flare of hope. For so long, he had searched. For so long, he had been told his mate, the one destined to break the curse, did not exist. That he would die as a beast, consumed by his hunger. And yet, he could feel her, weak, fragile, dying. No, he snarled, his voice rough with desperation. I won't lose her, not now. His wolf growled agreement, the sound reverberating in his chest like thunder. Killian rose from his throne, his eyes blazing with crimson fire. Prepare my warriors, he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of a king who would not be denied. I've found her. And deep in the dungeon, Tamia exhaled softly, her body trembling as if some unseen hand had brushed against her soul. For the first time since Alana's death, she felt something more than pain, hope. The dungeon doors crashed open. Tamia stirred weakly, her eyes blinking against the sudden blaze of torchlight. At first, she thought it was the guards again, come to deliver another round of cruelty. But no, this was different. The air itself shifted, heavy with power. Bootsteps thundered down the corridor, each one resonating through her bones. Wolves who had mocked her days before, now scrambled like frightened pups, bowing low, their voices trembling. Your Majesty, the command that followed was low, lethal, and brooked no argument. Out of my way. Tamia's head lifted slowly, and then she saw him. The figure that filled the dungeon was not a man, it was a storm-given form. The Lycan King, Killian, broad-shouldered, towering, his presence sucked the air from the chamber. His eyes burned with crimson fire, his aura radiating danger and dominance. The warriors who had dragged her through the dirt trembled under his gaze. Even the beta paled, his smirk wiped clean as Killian's focus locked on him like a predator scenting prey. And then those burning eyes shifted to her. Tamia froze. For a heartbeat, the world stilled. She could not move, could not breathe. A tether snapped taut between them, binding her soul to his. Her wolf, weak and trembling, surged suddenly within her, howling with recognition. Mate, Her heart lurched violently, fear and disbelief flooding her veins. No, not him. Not the Lycan King. The monster whispered about in hushed tones, cursed. With bloodlust, feared across the realms, Killian moved closer, his every step slow, deliberate. His eyes softened only when they rested on her broken form, shackled to the wall. His jaw clenched, fury simmering beneath the surface. Who did this to her? His voice was a snarl that shook the stones. The guards fell silent. No one dared speak. The beta finally stammered. She is a criminal, my king. She murdered. Killian's hand shot out, wrapping around the beta's throat. He lifted him effortlessly, claws digging into flesh. You dare lay a hand on my mate? The dungeon trembled with his rage. Mate. The word echoed through the chamber, through Tamia's chest, through the marrow of her bones. Her heart stuttered. He couldn't mean her. He couldn't. The beta gagged, his legs kicking. Why, your majesty? The silver wolf. She killed the princess. Killian's eyes glowed brighter, his voice a growl that dripped with menace. Lie to me again, and it will be your last breath. He tossed the beta aside like trash, the man crumpling to the ground, gasping. The others backed away, fear etched on their faces. Then Killian turned back to Tamia. He crouched before her, his massive form lowering so his gaze met hers. His hands scarred, powerful, yet unexpectedly gentle, lifted, brushing against the chain that bound her. With one effortless tug, the iron snapped. Tamia sagged forward, too weak to catch herself. His arms were there, strong and unyielding, cradling her as though she weighed nothing. Her body trembled, her lips parted, the faintest whisper escaping. Why? Killian leaned close, his voice a vow spoken in the language of fate. Because you are mine. And for the first time since the nightmare began, Tamia closed her eyes in arms that did not hurt her. The Lycan King had come. Tamia's body sagged in Killian's arms, every bone and muscle trembling from exhaustion. She could barely comprehend what had just happened. One moment, she was chained and bleeding. The next, she was cradled in the arms of a being whose presence burned through her fear, through the shadows that had claimed her. The Lycan King's eyes blazed with fury as he stormed through the pack's compound. Every warrior, every guard, every alpha loyalist who dared cross his path was knocked aside, their cries swallowed by his roars. Alpha Garrick. Killian's voice thundered, shaking the walls. You have tortured my mate long enough. The Alpha's face, once so proud, paled. What do you mean? Killian slammed him against the stone wall, his claws grazing Garrick's chest in a silent warning. Do not speak. Tamia's heart pounded, a mix of fear and awe. The monster stories she had heard about Killian the cursed Lycan King were real. But now, seeing the fire in his eyes, feeling the heat of his aura envelop her, she understood. Something else. He was here for her. Her wolf stirred inside her, faint but growing, reacting to his presence. She felt tethered to him in a way she could not name, her body instinctively leaning into his strength. I can't, she whispered, voice trembling. You can, Killian said, his voice softer now, almost a caress. Because you must. You are mine, Tamia, and I will not let them touch you again. The guards and warriors who had tormented her dared not move. Even the Alpha's bravest supporters shrank back, sensing the king's rage and the bond that burned between them. Killian turned, his powerful stride carrying them through the compound gates. Wolves scattered in terror, leaving the path clear. Tamia clung to him weakly, the realization sinking in. She was leaving everything behind, her so-called pack, the dungeon, the place that had held nothing but pain. Outside, the night air hit her like a bomb. The cold moonlight touched her face, and for the first time in days, she breathed freely. You're safe now, Killian murmured, his voice low, filled with a promise that resonated in her chest. I've found you, and I will never let them hurt you again. Tamia's lips quivered. The words sounded unreal, too gentle for the nightmare she had endured. Her wolf flickered again, a faint silver glow spreading through her weakened form, and, for the first time since Alana's death, hope stirred, but the road ahead was uncertain. Her past would not release her easily. Garrick would not let her go without a fight, and Killian's curse, his bloodlust, still roared beneath the surface, threatening to consume him if he lost control. Yet, in his arms, Tamia felt a strange strength, a second chance, and as they disappeared into the forest under the cloak of night, the moon goddess watched quietly, knowing that destiny had begun its work. The forest was quiet, but Tamia's mind roared. Every step Killian took seemed impossibly strong, impossibly confident, and impossibly frightening. Her body still trembled from the chains, the whips, and the poison, but the heat radiating from him made her feel both safe and terrified at the same time. She wanted to run, but something held her in place. Something deeper than fear, stronger than instinct. Killian finally stopped at a clearing bathed in silver moonlight. He lowered her to the ground, his gaze intense, searching. "Tamia," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "Look at me." Her eyes met his, and she felt something powerful stirring inside her. Her wolf lifted its head tentatively, ears pricking. The faint glow of her silver aura pulsed, weak but undeniable. "You're mine," Killian said again, his words carrying a weight that sent shivers down her spine. "Not because I want to control you, but because your soul calls to mine. The bond is real, and it has been waiting for you as long as I have." Tamia shook her head, fear and disbelief mingling in her chest. I can't. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm broken." "You are not broken," Killian countered, stepping closer. His hands hovered near hers, not touching yet, as though he could sense the delicate thread between them. "You are wounded, yes, scarred, but I can feel the wolf inside you, the silver wolf. She's alive, Tamia. She's waiting to rise again." The pull was undeniable. Her heart raced. Her wolf whimpered in instinctive recognition. The moment their eyes locked, the air seemed to thrum with energy, silver sparks flickering in the clearing. Tamia stumbled backward, trembling. I can't. I'm not ready." Killian moved faster than she expected, his arms suddenly around her in a protective hold. His aura pressed against her like a living thing, warmth and power intertwining with her own fading energy. "Then, I will wait," he said, softer now, yet every word reverberated through her soul. "But know this, no one will harm you again. I will protect you until you are ready. And when your wolf wakes, when your heart dares to trust again, you will see that you are not alone. Not ever." A pulse surged through Tamia. She gasped, her silver aura brightening slightly, flickering in resonance with his own. For the first time since Alana's death, she felt seen, whole. Her lips parted, almost instinctively. I feel something strange." "The bond," Killian said, voice low, reverent. "It's ours. It's stronger than fear, stronger than pain, and it will guide you back to yourself." Tamia's wolf stirred fully now, lifting her chin, ears alert. The glow strengthened, a shimmer of silver light that matched the intensity in Killian's eyes. She still trembled, but not from terror, from recognition, from destiny. "Then, I will try," she whispered. Killian's lips curved in a small, rare smile. "That's all I ask." For the first time since she had been accused, tortured, and abandoned, Tamia allowed herself a flicker of trust, a spark of hope. And somewhere deep in the forest, the moon goddess stirred, approving the bond that had finally begun. The mate bond had ignited. The clearing was silent except for the gentle rustle of leaves and Tamia's uneven breaths. She still sat in the soft glow of her faint silver aura, the mate bond pulsing faintly between them. But the questions in her mind were louder than her heartbeat. "Why me?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. "Why would the moon, or whatever binds us, bring me to you? I'm broken. And you're." Her words faltered. She couldn't finish. Killian's crimson eyes softened, though their intensity never faded. He crouched to her level, letting the night surround them, holding her in a space that felt sacred and dangerous all at once. "You were born for this," he said slowly, his voice low and steady. "I've carried a curse for centuries of bloodlust. That takes over every part of me. My wolf hungers, and if I cannot control it, I destroy everything I love." Tamia's hand instinctively went to her chest, her wolf stirring anxiously. "And I am supposed to stop it?" "Yes," Killian said, not harshly, but with undeniable gravity. "The bond between us, it is not just fate or chance. You are the silver wolf, Tamia, the one who can awaken the part of me that's been lost, the part that longs for peace, for love, for control, for life. Without you, the curse will consume me entirely." Her breath caught. "I don't understand. Why would someone like me, someone who's been cursed, hunted, hated, why would the destiny of a Lycan King depend on me?" He reached out, brushing a strand of her hair from her face. "Because you are stronger than you know. Even in chains, in pain, in despair, your wolf never died. It waited. And the bond, it recognized me before either of us even knew the truth. Fate does not make mistakes. Tamia. The moon goddess does not give second chances lightly. Tamia's eyes shimmered with tears, conflicting emotions rising like a tide. Fear, awe, confusion, and something warmer, something she hadn't felt since Alana's death. Hope. I don't know if I can, she whispered, voice trembling. You can, Killian said firmly, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. You will, and I will not leave you alone for even a moment. We face this together. You are my mate, my anchor, my salvation, and I will protect you with everything I am. Her wolf responded, flaring a little brighter, sending silver sparks into the night air. For the first time, Tamia felt the weight of her own strength, the faint but undeniable truth that she was no longer entirely powerless, and the bloodlust. She asked cautiously. He let out a sharp exhale, the memory of centuries etched in every line of his face. It's a curse, yes, but it is not all I am. I have learned control, through isolation, discipline, and longing, but it will always fight, always. You are the key to holding me back, to breaking the cycle, to saving me, and yourself. Tamia swallowed hard. She had been broken, she had been hunted, she had been told she was cursed, unworthy, a killer, but here he was, telling her she could save him and maybe herself at the same time. The night hummed with power, the mate bond thrumming stronger. Between them, Tamia's trembling eased slightly as she let the truth sink in. She was not alone. She was no longer just a victim. She was the silver wolf, and she was his mate. The forest was quiet, yet Tamia could feel the echoes of her past in every rustling leaf. She sat on a fallen log, her hands trembling as she traced the lines of her palms. The chains, the whips, the false accusations, they had left marks deeper than her skin, marks in her soul. I'm not strong enough, she whispered, almost to herself. I can't be what they need. I can't be what he needs. Killian stepped beside her, silent for a moment, letting her words drift into the night. His presence was a shield, but it also reminded her of the power she had once believed she'd lost. You think too small, he said softly. His crimson eyes met hers, glowing even in the moonlight. You survived. You endured chains, torture, lies, and you're still here. That is strength, Tamia. That is what makes you the silver wolf. That is what makes you mine. Tamia flinched at the word, the reality of it, piercing through her like a blade. She didn't want to feel. She had been alone for so long, blamed for something she did not do, and now, this powerful, terrifying Lycan King claimed her as his mate. But I'm broken, she said, voice low. Alana, she's gone. My pack, they hate me. I'm nothing. Killian knelt, tilting her chin up gently so her eyes met his. You are not nothing. You are everything. The pack may have failed you, but I won't. I will not. And you will see, over time, that you are not broken, just reshaped by pain. And that pain will make you stronger than you ever imagined. Tamia closed her eyes, fighting the lump in her throat. She had never known anyone who spoke with such conviction, who seemed to see past the scars to the soul beneath. Her wolf stirred, fragile but persistent, echoing his words in instinctive understanding. What if I fail? She whispered. You won't, he said, his hand brushing lightly over her shoulder, grounding her. I will not allow it. You are my mate, Tamia, and we will face whatever comes together. Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to let the warmth of his words seep into the ice around her heart, but fear gripped her tightly. Fear of trust, fear of loss, fear of being too small, too weak, and yet, there was a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Tamia looked up at Killian, into the fire of his eyes, and saw not just a king, not just a cursed beast, but someone who believed in her. Someone who refused to let her fade away, despite everything. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it a promise. The past may have shattered her, but it could not define her future. She was the silver wolf. She was his mate, and, though she trembled, though her soul bore the weight of death, betrayal, and loss, she would not fade, not tonight. A soft glow began to rise around her, faint but undeniable. Her wolf stirred, lifting its head, silver light mingling with Killian's crimson aura. Together, they shimmered, predestined, powerful, and unstoppable. And for the first time in a long, lonely night, Tamia allowed herself to believe she could survive. She could even begin to hope. The dawn broke over the forest, silver light spilling across the moss and fallen leaves. Tamia awoke in a small clearing where Killian had set up a temporary camp. Her body ached, muscles stiff from weeks of abuse. But the fire in her veins had returned, faint but insistent. Killian was already awake, his crimson eyes scanning the horizon as his wolf prowled nearby. When he turned and saw her stirring, a small, approving smile curved his lips. "You slept," he said simply. "Good. You need strength if you are to survive what comes next." Tamia swallowed, still shaky. I don't know if I can." "You can," Killian said firmly, kneeling beside her. "Your wolf is strong. You are strong. Pain made you survive, and it will make you thrive. I will guide you." He stood, offering a hand. She took it hesitantly, his grip firm but gentle, pulling her up. The moment their hands touched, a pulse of energy surged through her. The mate bond flared faintly, silver and crimson light intertwining. Her breath caught in her throat. "First," Killian said, "we need to reclaim control over your wolf. She's weak from chains and poison, but she remembers power. Let her speak." Tamia closed her eyes, trying to sense the wolf within. It quivered at first, frightened, but then a growl echoed softly in her mind. She concentrated, feeling the bond strengthen with Killian at her side. His aura, dangerous and protective, anchored her. "Good," Killian whispered. "She remembers. And she will grow stronger. You will grow stronger together." Hours passed as he guided her through exercises, teaching her to harness the energy within her, to feel the rhythm of her own heartbeat and the pulse of her wolf. He pushed her gently but firmly, correcting her stance, showing her how to focus, how to channel her fear into strength. Tamia stumbled, fell, and gasped, but with each movement, each spark of silver energy that flared, she felt a piece of herself return. Her confidence, once shattered, was slowly being rebuilt by his steady presence. "You're doing well," Killian said, his hand brushing against her arm, not in discipline, but as reassurance. "Your wolf responds to you. You are learning to trust her, to trust yourself." Tamia looked up at him, uncertainty and mingling in her eyes. "And you trust me?" He studied her for a long moment, crimson gaze softening. "I do, because you are my mate, and mates are never alone." The bond pulsed again, stronger now, uniting them in ways that words could not capture. Tamia felt a warmth spread through her chest, a flicker of power that was entirely her own. But the forest was not empty. Shadows lurked beyond the trees, eyes watching the clearing. Word of Tamia's survival and rescue had traveled fast, and enemies of both wolf and king were closing in. Killian's hand went to his sword, eyes narrowing. "They are coming," he said. "But you will be ready. I will make sure of it." Tamia's wolf stirred fully now, silver light flaring, reflecting the first real glimmer of power and purpose since her capture. She stood taller, chest rising with determination. "I'll be ready," she said softly, her voice carrying new strength. Killian nodded, pride and something gentler in his expression. Together, they would face the world and whatever threats lurked in the shadows. The wolf and the king were united. The forest was alive with whispers of her past. Every rustling leaf seemed to carry a memory, every snapping branch a ghost of the pain she had endured. Even the faintest breeze felt heavy with judgment, a reminder that her old pack had marked her for death or worse. Tamia's hands shook as she ran them over her arms, over scars that told stories she didn't want to revisit. Chains, whips, and poison marks, each one a silent accusation, a cruel reminder that the world saw her as nothing more than a murderer. I'm not ready," she whispered, voice cracking. "I don't know how to face them. How to face me." Killian's presence was both terrifying and comforting. He walked silently beside her, crimson eyes scanning the darkness, alert for any sign of danger. But when his gaze flicked to her, it softened not pity, but recognition. He knew what she had suffered, and he accepted her anyway. "You think fear makes you weak," he said softly. "It doesn't. It proves you're alive. You feel because you've survived. Every scar, every tear, every shattered moment, it's proof that you're still here, stronger than anyone who wronged you could ever imagine." Tamia's wolf stirred. At his words, silver light pulsing faintly in response to the bond between them. She closed her eyes, trying to summon courage she wasn't sure she still had. Her wolf whimpered, hesitant but present, a flicker of life after the darkness had nearly consumed it. "I don't know if I can fight them," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I'm still broken inside." Killian knelt to her level, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. His touch was grounding, a reminder that she wasn't alone. "Broken isn't gone," he said firmly. "Broken is reshaped, stronger." smarter, wiser. You've survived horrors that would crush most, Tamia. Your wolf remembers its strength. And you together you are unstoppable. Tamia's eyes glistened with tears, the first real hint of hope breaking through the fear and pain. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to feel safe in his arms, to trust the bond that pulls between them. Yet every step forward was haunted by memories of chains, lies, and betrayal. As they moved through the trees, the shadows of her past came alive. Former pack members, faces twisted with hatred, appeared at the edge of the clearing. Their weapons glinted under the moonlight, and Tamia's breath caught. They want me dead, she whispered, wolf growling low in instinctive fear. Killian's gaze hardened, his aura flaring crimson. They've chosen their fate, he growled. No one harms my mate. The first wolf lunged, but Killian was a blur moving faster than thought, disarming and incapacitating with terrifying precision. Tamia's wolf reacted instinctively, silver sparks mingling with his crimson aura, guiding her movements, helping her strike, dodge, and survive. For the first time, she didn't feel like a victim. She felt alive. She felt powerful. She felt part of something larger than herself. Killian's hand found hers mid-battle, grounding her, anchoring her. Together, he said, growling low. Always together. Her chest rose with newfound determination. Fear mingled with exhilaration, and for the first time since her imprisonment, she embraced it. She could fight. She could survive. She could rise. The shadows retreated, but the war was far from over. Garrick and his loyalists would return, driven by vengeance and pride. Yet tonight, Tamia recognized something profound. She was no longer defined by fear or chains. Her wolf lifted its head fully, silver light flaring brightly, mingling with Killian's crimson aura. She inhaled deeply, chest expanding with strength, resolve, and the first flickers of self-belief. I'm not afraid anymore, she whispered softly, more to herself than anyone else, and Killian's hand tightened over hers, his gaze locking with hers. You never will be, as long as I'm here. For the first time in a long, lonely night, Tamia understood that she had survived not just to exist but to reclaim her destiny. The Silver Wolf and the Lycan King were no longer just survivors, they were a force, united against the shadows of the past and whatever threats lay ahead. The sun dipped behind the trees, casting long shadows across the forest floor. Tamia's muscles ached from the day's training, but the fire within her burned brighter than ever. Her silver aura shimmered faintly with each movement, proof of the wolf stirring back to life. Killian stood beside her, watchful, tense. His crimson eyes scanned the tree line, every muscle coiled like a spring. They're close, he murmured. His voice carried both warning and reassurance. Tamia swallowed, her heart hammering. I'm ready, she whispered, though uncertainty lingered. The truth was, she didn't feel ready at all. Not to face the pack who had hunted her, not to trust the power she barely understood. Killian's hand found hers, grounding her. Blood and trust, he said softly. Your wolf responds to instinct. Trust it, trust me, and when it counts, let your strength take over. The first wave of attackers broke through the trees, wolves with snarling faces and gleaming weapons. Garrick's loyalists taunting, confident, certain that Tamia was still weak, charged forward. Killian moved first, a crimson storm of power and precision. He struck with lethal grace, disarming, incapacitating, and shielding Tamia with every movement. But this time, he didn't fight alone. Now, he commanded, and Tamia's wolf responded. Silver light erupted from her chest, faint at first, but growing brighter with each step. She dodged, countered, and struck instinctively, her movements guided by the bond linking her to Killian. She was no longer the hunted wolf, they were a united force, predator and mate, king and silver wolf. One attacker lunged at Tamia from behind. Killian's hand shot out, gripping her shoulder and pulling her back, eyes blazing. Trust me, he roared. Her wolf surged forward, a flash of silver, instinctively striking down the assailant. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, mingling with the power of the bond, and for the first time, Tamia felt something she had not known in years, confidence. They moved together like a single entity. Killian's crimson power clashed with their enemy's strikes, while Tamia's silver wolf energy flared unpredictably, instinctive and fierce. Each pulse of energy between them strengthened their connection, blood and trust. As he had said, when the attackers finally fled, their confidence shattered. Tamia sank to the ground, trembling but alive. Killian knelt beside her, placing a hand lightly on her back. You did well, he murmured, his voice a mixture of pride and something softer, more intimate. Your wolf is strong. You are strong. Tamia's chest heaved, both from exertion and from the rush of trust she felt toward him. I couldn't have done it without you, she admitted, voice small but honest. Killian's crimson eyes softened, his hand brushing a lock of hair from her face. No, he said, shaking his head. You did it because of yourself. I only guided you. The strength was always yours. Her silver aura pulsed brighter at his words, mingling with his crimson energy. The mate bond flared, strong and undeniable, anchoring them to one another. For the first time since her imprisonment, Tamia understood that survival was not enough. Strength was not just physical, it was trust, courage, and the courage to embrace destiny even when fear threatened to consume her. And as night settled over the forest, Tamia rose beside the Lycan King, wolf and mate united, ready for whatever shadows dared to challenge them next. The forest was still, the echoes of the battle fading into the night. Tamia's body still trembled, muscles sore from exertion, but her heart beat with a strange exhilaration. She had faced her enemies, and she had survived. Not just survived, she had fought. Killian watched her from a few steps away, crimson eyes glowing softly in the moonlight. He approached slowly, his presence both comforting and commanding. Tonight, we begin the marking, he said, voice low and deliberate. The bond we share is more than instinct or fate. It is recognition, a pledge, and it will anchor your power, your wolf, and our souls together. Tamia swallowed, fear and awe twisting in her stomach. She had heard whispers of marking, of the sacred ritual between mates, but nothing in her life had prepared her for this. I don't know if I'm ready, she admitted, her voice trembling. You are, Killian said firmly, kneeling before her. Your wolf already knows. Your heart already recognizes it. All you need to do is trust me, yourself, and the bond between us. Tamia's wolf stirred, silver light flickering faintly in response to his words. The mate bond pulsed, a living thread connecting their souls. She inhaled deeply, steadying herself. Killian extended a hand, placing it gently on her chest, over the area where her wolf lay dormant, yet alive. The touch sent a pulse through her, a warmth that penetrated deep into her bones. Close your eyes, he instructed, voice soft but unwavering. Let your wolf guide you. Let the bond awaken fully. Tamia obeyed, heart racing. She felt a tingling sensation ripple from his hand, spreading through her chest, down her arms, into her legs. Her wolf stirred, silver energy flaring brighter. A strange euphoria mingled with her fear, and for the first time since her capture, she felt whole. Killian leaned closer, his forehead resting lightly against hers. His breath mingled with hers, his presence grounding her, anchoring her to this moment. Do you feel it? He whispered. Yes, she breathed, voice barely audible. I feel you. Inside me. Good, he murmured. Because, from this moment, we are bound, soul to soul, wolf to wolf, mate to mate. The marking is not painted as power, and it is ours. A pulse surged through both of them, crimson and silver flaring together, mingling and intertwining. Tamia gasped, as warmth and energy radiated through her, her wolf howling softly in response. It was intense, overwhelming, and terrifying, and yet it filled her with an exhilarating sense of belonging. You're stronger than you realize, Killian said, voice low, reverent. And now, we are truly one. Tears pricked her eyes. But this time they were not of fear or sorrow. They were of release, of recognition, of a bond that transcended pain. The forest seemed to shimmer around them, as if acknowledging the connection. The awakening of the silver wolf and the Lycan King. Tamia opened her eyes, and for the first time, she looked at Killian not as a rescuer, not as a king, not as a terrifying cursed being, but as her mate, her anchor, her strength. The bond had ignited fully, and nothing, no past betrayal, no enemy, no curse could ever sever it. The forest was alive with tension, every shadow seeming to move with intent. The marking had been complete for a day, but the pulse of the bond between Tamia and Killian had not faded. It throbbed with power, intertwining their senses, sharpening reflexes, and heightening instincts. Are you ready? Killian asked, his crimson eyes scanning the horizon, muscles coiled like springs. Tamia inhaled deeply, feeling the warmth of the bond, her wolf stirring inside her chest. I think so, she replied, voice steady but laced with anticipation. Think is not enough, Killian corrected gently, placing a hand over hers. Trust. The bond is alive. Let it guide you. They moved through the underbrush, silent as shadows. Their prey or threat was near, a rogue pack of exiles, twisted and hungry, who had learned of Tamia's survival and sought to claim a bounty on her head. The first howl cut through the night air, jagged and feral. Tamia's wolf responded instinctively, silver light flaring in her chest. Killian's crimson aura merged with hers, a signal of unity, of strength, of blood and trust. From the shadows, a figure lunged. Tamia reacted without hesitation. Her body moved on instinct, guided by the bond. Her claws tore through the attacker's defenses as Killian intercepted another with precise, brutal force. They fought as one. Every move Killian made synced with Tamia's reflexes, every strike of her wolf energy cutting through darkness. She could feel his thoughts, his intent, his presence inside her mind as clearly as her own heartbeat. "You're faster than I expected," Killian growled, red energy flaring brighter. "But focus, don't overextend." Tamia adjusted instantly, a flicker of pride igniting within her. Her wolf howled, a resonant, harmonious sound mingling with Killian's low growl. Together, they became a storm silver and crimson predator and king. The rogue pack faltered under their combined assault, fear overtaking hunger. Tamia's confidence surged. She was not the weak, hunted omega of days past. She was powerful. She was his mate. She was the silver wolf. When the last of the rogues fled into the night, Tamia sank to her knees, chest heaving, energy crackling faintly around her. Killian knelt beside her, hand resting lightly on her back, grounding her once more. "You did well," he murmured, pride and warmth in his voice. "Your wolf, our bond, it guided you. You fought not just with strength, but with instinct. With us," Tamia's eyes shimmered with exhaustion and exhilaration. "I felt everything," she admitted softly. I felt you. With me, like we were one." Killian's crimson eyes softened. "That is the mate bond," he said. "It is not just connection, it is power, trust, and instinct. Together, we are unstoppable. But remember, it is also responsibility. You must always control it, or it will control you." Tamia nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. This bond was not only a gift, it was a challenge. It would test them, push them, demand everything they had. Yet for the first time in years, she felt alive, unbroken, and ready. The silver wolf and the Lycan King rose together, crimson and silver lights intertwining in the moonlit forest. The hunt had ended, but their journey, and their fight against enemies seen and unseen, had only just begun. The fire crackled in the small clearing, casting long shadows that danced across Tamia's face. She sat close to Killian, her wolf stirring within, silver light flickering faintly. The first hunt had tested her body and spirit, but now her mind demanded answers. "You've never told me everything," she said softly, voice laced with curiosity and fear. "Why the curse? Why the bloodlust? Why me?" Killian's crimson eyes flickered with pain, a thousand memories lurking behind them. He exhaled slowly, gaze dropping to the fire, as if seeing centuries of suffering reflected in the flames. "It began long before you were born," he said finally, voice low, haunted. "Centuries ago, I was cursed by an enemy pack, a rival who feared the strength of my line. The curse was meant to consume me, to make me a beast, unstoppable, uncontrollable, and feared by my own." Tamia's chest tightened. "And the bloodlust, the hunger? It is part of it," Killian admitted. "It is a darkness that grows if I let it. My wolf struggles to hold it back, and without control, I would destroy everything I love, everything I care for. I've spent lifetimes in isolation, searching, praying for the one who could anchor me, the mate who could temper the curse." The silver wolf, Tamia's hand hovered near his trembling. You mean me?" "Yes," he said, crimson eyes locking with hers, intense and unwavering. "You are the key, Tamia, the only one who can calm the bloodlust, who can guide my wolf back to balance. Without you, I cannot survive, without harming others, without losing myself entirely." Her wolf stirred, instinctively recognizing the truth in his words, silver aura brightening. Tamia's heart raced. She had survived chains, torture, and betrayal, but now she realized that her destiny was tied to this cursed king. I don't know if I can," she whispered. "I'm still broken. I've been through so much." Killian reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You are not broken," he said softly. "You are tempered by fire, shaped by pain. That is what makes you strong. That is why the moon goddess brought us together. You are my anchor, Tamia, and I will not let anything harm you or us. Tears pricked her eyes. For the first time since her capture, she felt truly seen, not as a prisoner, not as a suspect, not as a victim, but as someone essential, powerful, destined. I will try, she whispered, wolf stirring, silver energy, pulsing brighter. I will try to help you, to help us. Killian leaned closer, lips brushing her forehead. That is all I ask, he murmured. Together, we are stronger than any curse, stronger than any enemy, stronger than fear itself. The fire crackled, shadows dancing around them, but inside Tamia, a new light burned. Not just the silver of her wolf, not just the crimson of his energy, but a shared warmth, a trust, a bond that neither curse nor darkness could sever. And in that quiet, powerful moment, she understood. Survival was not enough anymore. She had a purpose. She had a mate. She had power, and the silver wolf would not fail. The forest clearing was silent under the pale moonlight, yet the tension was palpable. Tamia and Killian had trained together, strengthened the mate bond, and survived their first hunt, but nothing could have prepared them for what was coming. A deep, mocking laugh echoed through the trees, sending a shiver down Tamia's spine. Tamia, the voice called, sharp and cruel. Did you really think you could escape your past? From the shadows, Alpha Garrick emerged, flanked by a dozen loyal wolves, their eyes filled with malice. He was taller than Tamia remembered, his presence radiating authority and arrogance. His gaze swept over her and Killian, and a smirk twisted his lips. Looks like the little silver wolf has found herself a mate, he sneered. But a wolf who thinks she's powerful enough to stand against me. That is amusing. Tamia felt a surge of fear, but the bond flared instantly, silver and crimson light pulsing in her chest. Killian's hand gripped hers, anchoring her, and his crimson aura flared bright. Garrick, Killian growled, his voice like steel. You will not touch her. Not now. Not ever. The alpha lunged, and chaos erupted. Tamia's wolf reacted instinctively, silver energy flaring as she dodged, struck, and defended with precision she had never possessed before. Killian moved beside her, a crimson storm of power, every strike synchronized, every move instinctive. Trust me. Killian barked mid-battle. I do. Tamia shouted back, letting the bond guide her. The fight was fierce, testing not only their physical strength but the connection between them. Every pulse of energy, every shared thought, every instinctive move was a testament to the power of the mate bond. Garrick struck with brutal force, aiming directly at Tamia, trying to shatter her confidence and break the bond. But Tamia's wolf flared, silver light mingling with Killian's crimson energy, deflecting him with precision. You are stronger than I thought, Garrick spat, staggering back, surprised. But strength alone won't save you forever. Tamia's chest heaved, but determination burned in her eyes. I'm not alone anymore, she growled. I'm his mate, and together, we are unstoppable. Killian's crimson aura flared brighter, and together they struck, overwhelming Garrick and his loyalists. The rogue pack scattered into the night, humiliated and defeated. When the dust settled, Tamia sank to her knees, exhaustion and adrenaline battling within her. Killian knelt beside her, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. You did perfectly, he murmured, voice softer now, pride and warmth in his tone. Your wolf is strong, but more than that, you are strong. And our bond, it will protect us always. Tamia's silver aura flickered, her wolf howling softly in the quiet aftermath. I felt it, she whispered. I felt the bond, guiding me, protecting me, making me stronger. Killian leaned closer, crimson eyes filled with affection and awe. That is the power of the mate bond, he said softly. And it will only grow stronger, Tamia. Stronger than any enemy, any curse, any fear. For the first time in years, Tamia felt truly unbroken. She had survived, she had fought, and she had risen not as a victim, not as a hunted wolf, but as the silver wolf, mate to the Lycan King, and a force to be reckoned with. The Alphas challenge had tested them, but together, they had triumphed, and this victory was only the beginning. The moon hung high over the forest, silver light spilling across the clearing, but there was no peace. Killian's crimson aura flared violently, uncontrolled and chaotic. The curse, the bloodlust that had haunted him for centuries was breaking through, stronger than ever. Tamia's chest tightened. She could feel his wolf thrashing inside him, raging, desperate, teetering on the edge of pure destruction. Silver energy flared in her chest as she called to her own wolf, reaching for the bond that tethered them together. Killian, she shouted, stepping close, hand outstretched. Listen to me, focus on me, breathe with me. He stumbled, crimson light flickering wildly, fangs bared, eyes burning with uncontrollable hunger. Tamia, it's too strong. I can't, you can, she interrupted, voice rising, firm, unwavering. Her wolf howled in resonance, silver light exploding around them. I'm your anchor. I'm your mate. Trust me. Trust us. The bond flared like never before, silver and crimson energy colliding and merging, pulsing with raw primal force. Tamia placed both hands on his chest, letting the connection guide her, channel her strength, and steady his raging wolf. Memories of his torment, centuries of bloodlust and isolation, flickered through her mind. She felt his pain, his hunger, his fear, and with each pulse of the bond, she wrapped it around him like a shield. Whispering soft words of trust, love, and promise, she anchored him, slowing the tempest inside. Killian's growls faltered, crimson aura flickering as he drew in shaky breaths. Tamia, yes, she breathed, pressing closer, wolf and heart pulsing together. You are not alone. I'm here, always. The forest seemed to respond, the silver of her wolf merging with the crimson of his aura, forming a radiant vortex that pulsed outward, calming the wild energy, taming the bloodlust. Finally, with a deep, shuddering inhale, Killian's crimson flared gently, wolf curling, eyes softening. He sank to his knees beside her, trembling, exhausted, yet alive. Tamia wrapped her arms around him, whispering soothing words. You survived it. We survived it, she murmured. Because we're together. Because we trust each other. He pressed his forehead to hers, voice hoarse. You saved me. I was lost. But you are my anchor, my mate, my life. Tears pooled in her eyes, silver aura glowing softly. And you are mine, she whispered, always. The bond had not just survived the bloodlust, it had strengthened, proving that together, they could face any darkness, any curse, any enemy. Tamia realized then that their love was not only powerful, it was essential, a force capable of conquering even centuries of pain and hatred. As dawn crept over the horizon, crimson and silver light intertwined one last time, blazing across the forest like a promise. The curse had been tested, and the silver wolf and Lycan King had not only survived, they had risen stronger than ever. Tomorrow would bring more battles, more challenges, but tonight they had conquered the heart of the curse. The battlefield lay quiet, the echoes of past struggles fading into the early morning light. Tamia stood beside Killian, her wolf pulsing softly in harmony with his crimson aura. Together, they surveyed the remnants of the enemy packs, defeated, scattered, and powerless before their strength. Garrick and the other rivals had been vanquished, their attempts to claim Tamia and shatter their bond ending in failure. The silver wolf and the Lycan King had not only survived, they had triumphed. Killian's crimson eyes softened as he turned to Tamia, pride and love radiating from every line of his body. We did it, he said, voice low and reverent. All of it. Together. Tamia's silver energy flared proudly, her wolf lifting its head in a victorious howl. Together, she echoed, voice steady, filled with strength she had never known in her past life. We are unstoppable. He stepped closer, hands framing her face, eyes locking with hers. You have healed, grown, and risen from every shadow. He whispered, you are not just my mate. You are my anchor, my strength, my destiny. Tears glimmered in Tamia's eyes, but this time they were not of pain, they were of triumph, love, and release. She reached for him, pulling him close, letting their wolves intertwine, letting their bond blaze brightly in the morning light. I never thought I could feel whole again, she admitted softly. But with you, I feel alive. I feel powerful. I feel loved. Killian's lips brushed hers in a tender, lingering kiss, full of promise and passion. Then you are mine, as I am yours, forever, and nothing will ever take that from us. The forest seemed to celebrate their union, sunlight piercing through the canopy, birds calling softly, and the energy of their bond radiating outward, touching every living thing. The curse that had haunted Killian for centuries was no longer a chain, it had been transformed into strength, controlled, tempered, and tamed by love. Tamia's silver wolf pulsed brighter than ever, crimson energy mingling, their mate bond now unbreakable. Together, they stood on the edge of the world they had reclaimed, ready to face whatever future awaited them side by side, soul to soul, wolf to wolf, and in that moment, destiny was fulfilled. And no longer hunted, no longer broken, Tamia and Killian embraced their power, their love, and the life they had fought so hard to claim. The silver wolf had risen, the Lycan King had been tamed, and together, they were unstoppable. They had survived chains, curses, betrayal, and darkness, and now, at last, they were free, forever bonded, forever strong, forever theirs.